Good evening. Welcome to the November 8th, 2022 meeting of the Newtown Township Trails and Greenways Committee. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being taped. Secretary Cook, can you please call the roll?
Chairman Custer,
Here.
Vice Chair DiVincenzo. Secretary Cook present. Committee Member Blagriff. Committee Member Jangisa. Committee Member Archer. Committee Member Falcon. Committee Member McCarthy. Here. Committee Member Carr. And Township Manager Steve Means present.
I would like to announce that I received an email from Amy Blagriff that she is unfortunately going to have to resign from the Trails Committee. Her job has required her to move to Colorado, and she's in the process of doing that. We got a nice letter, an email from her. I'd like to read portions of it. It has been my great pleasure to serve and to get to know you and residents of Newtown Township. We've loved our time here and will carry fond memories with us back to Colorado. Our new home, by the way, is in Boulder County, and we have access to many biking trails and walking routes, which of course brings us great joy. I wish you the best as you work to make Newtown Square an even more inviting place to live. I am proud of the work this committee has done to help bring together members of the community on our walks and other events, and to help raise our community's expectations as to what is possible for Newtown Square. Happy trails. Thanks again, Amy Blagriff. And I think she's just done just a wonderful job here in the committee. She's going to be very hard. And may we have a moment of silence, please? Please rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I.
This is all. Justice for all.
The next item is the agenda. Beg your pardon. Next item is public comment for agenda items only. Is there any public comment?
None.
Okay. Next item is the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written? I hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Next on the agenda are the minutes of the October 11, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes as written?
Motion to approve.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We now move to new business. First up, section 7.1, discussion and potential action on future trail walks. Terry McCarthy.
Today I loaded up November 19th, Trains and Trail Walk at Drexel Lodge Park George told me that he will have a volunteer there to open up the train museum and the people come through. So it'll start at 1 o'clock, probably go for a few hours. And so that is established. Again, Saturday, November 19th, 1 to 3 or 4 o'clock. We're also inviting Garrett Williamson to speak at that event about the new agricultural education programs, which includes birthday parties at the barn, very successful so far, and a nice alternative to taking your kids to Chuck E. Cheese. Then the next that we're thinking about is December, I think it's 6th, which is tree lighting.
I think so.
I spoke with Paul Seligman, and we're just not sure about where we will start to end up at the tree lighting center. But like the welcome comments or suggestions.
I think it may be December 4th.
December 4th, maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think it's on Sunday evening. The tree
Yeah.
lighting.
With the new tree and all, so I'm not saying that we have to have a walk, but I could invite people to that event.
Sure.
But I also think that it's always nice to start it earlier and ended up there.
Yeah.
And the only idea I had was to go to the Willow, is it the Winding Way Park?
Yeah,
Sure.
the Winding Way, or some people know it as Greer Park.
Yeah, we had talked about Greer Park before of having a walk early on.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's feasible. The other, I don't know if the segment between, of the trail, I don't know, the trail segment coming down will be completely done at the Ellis Preserve. Because that was the other piece that could have been, there was a new trail segment going in that will go all the way down to Winding Way. Yeah, and so, but I don't know that that's going to be finished by December 6th. So, but I think you could go from Greer Park and go up. The thing is, you have to just realize there's a couple places where there's not sidewalk.
True, but it's short.
But it's short.
So that's my only, I just need to go walk around there and see
Yeah.
what's the ripple, and doesn't it connect where back into the Bryn Mawr Avenue?
It does not at this time. No.
Okay, well, it'd be short, but it.
You could. I mean, it would be a long roadway, but you could consider going from Bryn Mawr or from Brookside Park, walking along the roadside, up Brookside, up then to, I think it's Ashley, over to, you could go straight up Ashley onto Rhodes and then up Rhodes over to the park, or, I mean, over to the tree, or you could go down to Greer Park and then up. Take Ashley over to Winding Way down and then up. So you could plan it that way.
Go look around.
Yeah, just if we're going to do that, just let me know so we can make sure that we take whatever precautions we can for safety.
Okay.
And what time is the tree lighting ceremony that day?
Tree lighting ceremony is usually kind of right after dark.
Okay, so close to 5 o'clock.
It's 6 to 8. Yeah. Yeah, I have a dance recital first. Yeah.
I guess the one thing to keep in mind with this is if we're starting in a different location than the actual tree lighting, people are going to have to walk back to their car after.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
And making sure, it's one thing if it's a big group of people, if it's individuals, they're easier to miss in the dark.
Yep.
Yeah, and it is a.
Yeah, I mean, it may be one of those things where you start there, go for a walk and come back to it.
Where would we park?
I think you could park in the lot behind the Rite Aid.
Oh, Rite Aid lot. North St. Albans.
Yeah.
Or Hills.
Yeah.
For that out.
Yep.
Or the lot next to Greer Park.
Well, I'm just thinking if you want to have something where everybody's kind of at that location, so
Yeah.
when they get done the tree lighting, they're near where their cars are, you could actually start there. And then,
No, that's a good idea.
and I don't know, John, there's spaces behind some of those places there.
Yeah, behind my office.
Yeah,
At least that time it should be empty.
yeah, I'm
So
just
there's a
thinking
good
that's
amount of
another
space back
option.
There.
The PNC lets people park there, when,
Yep,
you know, the market.
yep.
So, yeah, we'll think that through. That sounds good. Because it would be nice to, you know, even if you had 20 people or 15 people. Different.
Yep. You could. I'm gonna hold off on saying that. Let me look at something for, I just thought about a moment. I'm not sure I have sidewalk all the way there.
Okay. All right, well, that's the only plans, but that will be the 1-year anniversary of our trail walks, December to December. So, so that's kind of worth doing.
And you
And
could-
how many total did we have?
Well, we had 12 scheduled, but 2 got canceled
Okay.
because of weather.
So out of walks in that.
We held 10.
We had
2022.
10 fulfilled more. Well, actually, there were 11 because people showed up in February, I think, over at Drexel Lodge Park. It was canceled. 'cause
When we had the
of snow, but I
snowstorm.
went, and then people showed up. So we did it anyway. All right.
it could be kind of fun to kind of go with the Christmas theme since it's attached to the Christmas lighting and do like, you know, like your ugly Christmas sweater hike or something like that, or you know, something along those lines to make it a little more
I was thinking Carolyn.
That's a good idea.
wear your ugly sweaters and sing songs poorly.
Yeah, and then we could, in Albans, if they're not having an event at that time of day, they might let us in the church. The same, because Matt is so nice. So welcoming. And I could talk to, him. Runs the market, maybe do a little, you know, a little theme out there. It could be fun. This is good.
Yeah. Ideas.
Yes, thank you for the ideas.
Any more on this topic? Okay, I just want to announce that for the township newsletter, there's a deadline of December 12th for content. Is there anybody here that would like to do an article?
November 12th.
November 12th.
December 12th.
Oh, no,
December
December
12th.
12th.
All right.
December 12th.
We have plenty of time.
Happy to help. We didn't get one in last time, which is a tough month.
We want to summarize the work that the committee's done this year.
I think. Or achievements in the first year. That's easy.
I can do that.
No, the articles are due to us by the 12th.
Okay.
So that we can, just so everybody understands that when we get them turned in on the 12th, they don't go into people's boxes until February, the first week issue in February. So the thing that I would like you to think about as you're thinking about an article, even though it feels like you're really writing for February, March, April timeframe. So if you think that you're going to have walks in February, March, and April, and you want to kind of get that out, one option that I'm suggesting is that we take a page on the website to, and I think we already do this a little bit for you all, but like have a page on the website where we have information and you can put a note that, you know, join us on a walk, get the details, and we'll do a, what do you call, QR code? put a QR code and you can actually have people go from the QR code, go right to our website and get the updated pieces. So you don't have to have everything planned today, but just think about using the web page for this group that way, that if there's information that you want to get out, you can do that. So, but just think about the fact that February, March, April, it would, it will be early May before the next one comes out if I got my dates right. So.
Okay, thank you.
So I could do like an annual report, like sort of just write up what we've accomplished. And what I would do is I would send out an email to the committee and have the committee send back to just me, any accomplishments you think should be included in the article that we've accomplished this year. And then I can write the article, compile that. And if we have any announcements for January, February, and March, I can include those. And then include the QR code.
I think it would be good to talk about projects that we have in the works too. To,
Mhm.
like, hey, you want to come participate? You want to be part of this? You're interested in something, you have an opinion, come to the meetings. These are the things we're working on and these are the things to keep an eye out, look for. So it's not just what we did, but looking forward.
We send you the, that was not in business, but I guess it was summer. That we had a full page article, because it was sort of that format, what did we do, and who are we?
Okay.
So I remember that.
And is that typically like a one pager, Steve?
Yes, I think that it could be up to one page, but you may be, like I wouldn't try to force something that's not, but at the same time, I wouldn't write more than a page.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great.
And think about the fact that newsletters do best with pictures.
Yeah.
So, it's probably not a full page of text. We get some pictures of maybe some of the walks and things like that have been added in.
And how do I submit that? Is that to you?
Steve.
Okay.
Everything's to Steve, it's just not
He
this
does
Steve.
Very quiet.
Great.
Okay, moving on. Next under new business, 7.2, update information on grants and grants availability. Are there any updates at all?
Just so you know, Steve is this Steve, the other Steve, and I are working on with George potential grant submission, a multimodal grant. We're actually focusing right now on Sawmill Road, a walkway along there. We think that's needed for a variety of reasons, and so hopefully this will give us an opportunity to address that and also address some traffic calming at the same time. So that's what we're looking at, just so you know, and it potentially would be a connection from the Lissitor Trail and our park at the corner of Sawmill and 252 down to Skunk Hollow Park over in Radnor.
Breaker space. That goes. Go off of Ocean Road to the south, because I'm going to put it up, it's off of Ocean, sort of a cul-de-sac. There's teams to walk from there down.
I'm
It's
not,
owned by a guy, but he's selling.
I'm not aware of that.
Does the township own property back there? Oh, man.
Well, the township has a right of way along Sawmill, and that's what we're looking at using.
But I think also they own property in what's called no man's land and that along that creek that goes into Earl's Lake.
Yes. It's
But that's
predominantly steep slopes.
plus
I mean,
it's
it's-
almost impassable.
Yeah, I would argue that we're not going to put a trail in there unless we do a tremendous amount of investment and I'm not sure that that's worth it, for what we would gain in that spot. It's one of those pieces of property, I think, that were given to the township because the developer couldn't develop it. So it's what we would call steep and very steep slopes, mostly very steep. And like you said, it's pretty impassable most of the places. Yeah.
Okay, moving along, 7.3, discussion of possible action regarding 2023 Trails and Greenways Committee meeting schedule.
Yeah, so we're in the process of trying to rearrange schedules for 2023 for committee meetings. And one of the reasons for that is staff investment in that. Right now, we've got staff out multiple nights a week, and it's challenging for that. And so what we're trying to doing is where staff who are going to be taking certain committees on would be on the same night. They could potentially be out one time versus, 2 nights doing one night. The other thing we're trying to do is make sure as much as possible that we set committees up that need to get information to possibly other groups. For example, when you do a review of a plan, make sure that you have enough time to get your review in and do that. So the recommendation that we're making is moving you from the second Tuesday to actually the first Thursday. And so it would be on the same night as the Park and Rec meeting. And that this meeting would start at 5 or 5:30. And then the Park and Rec meeting starts at 7. So if you think you need more time, we would start it at 5. If we think you could get away with a little bit less time, then we would start it at 5:30. And what I'm looking for is feedback. The board is just trying to say, does this work or does it not work for committees? And if it doesn't work, then I'm looking for what might work, and we'll talk through some others. But that was the option that was being proposed at this time. And again, the idea is that George is going to ultimately become the staff member that's responsible for this committee, and George does Park and Recs. And so he would come from this one or go to that one and then come to this one. Or go to this one and then go to that one, however that works.
Do they start at 6:30?
They start at 7.
7.
Yeah, so part of it depends on how long you think you need to meet on a normal basis, determines how early we need to start that meeting.
So I may have a small issue. Right now, my days off are Thursday, Friday, so I'm good. But it has been known to change multiple times over the last few years, and I wouldn't be able to get here by 5:30 without having to take time off work
Yeah,
every single time.
Yeah.
I struggle to get here by 6.
okay.
We'll usually have the video.
Oh, sure.
For virtual meeting.
Yeah.
Appreciate your schedule of that, and traffic also varies.
Yeah, I used to do that ride pretty regularly, so.
Yeah, and I don't officially get off work till 5 or 5:15. So starting at
Yeah.
5 just
Yeah.
isn't feasible. I don't mind taking time off once in a while, but to use all my annual leave to come to a committee meeting is
Yeah, no,
kind of a rough
rough. Yeah,
pill to swallow.
sure.
Do you do it remotely from
Um,
where you are?
no, because we have no cell signal in my building. If I'm in that building, if I'm in a different building, then I need to go because I don't have a computer or anything like that. So not really a good option unless I'm literally sitting in my car in a parking lot.
Yeah.
For an hour doing that, and
Yeah.
that just doesn't seem conducive to much of anything.
Sure.
I wonder if we could think about somehow structuring our agenda so that our meetings are an hour, 6 to 7.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, are we required to have either, 90 minutes per month?
You're not required to have any length of time. I don't even know that you're required to have a meeting every month. I'd have to look. I think it recommends that you'll have a monthly meeting, but I don't think yours is a required one. I've been going through. We have about 8 different committees and I've been going through all the committees. And so some of them actually have requirements. I do not think this one does. I'd have to go back and look at yours. And there is nothing that states that you have to have a meeting for any length of time.
Well, Aaron, then I think you're right. I think we could be much more efficient and do at least 90 minutes, if not 1 hour.
And we could think about, everybody can think about tailoring the agenda, with John's leadership on, like Steve said, there may be some months where we have a lot to discuss. So maybe we would start at 5:30 and if Bethany can get here by 6, if the rest of us can be here at 5:30, but try to tailor the agenda with a lot of efficiency built in so that we're having mostly 1 hour meetings, but in the times where we feel like we need more time, if we've got a lot more on our plate, we could start at 5:30.
Is
Yeah,
it possible?
Possibly also, we could have people provide reports in advance and then not necessarily have to discuss it.
Is the Parks and Rec locked in for 7? Or could they be flip-flopped?
I can.
Adjusting everyone's schedule because of me is.
No, I mean, I can ask that question. I haven't asked that question. I mean, I'm more than happy to have that conversation with the Parks and Rec team. They may actually have more, there are less of them. There are 5 of them versus 9 of you. There's a big difference there in trying to figure out those numbers, but I can talk to them. I mean, the idea would put both on the same night. One of the things I can tell you is they're really good about typically not being more than about 1 hour and 15 minutes. They've got theirs pretty well down that they keep it to 1 hour to 1 hour and 15 minutes regularly. So we could potentially do that with them. I'll talk to them on that. But I think what I'm hearing, and I just want to make sure that my hearing is what I'm interpreting is what I'm really hearing from you is you're not opposed to moving to Thursday night, the first Thursday night of the month, and you're not opposed to potentially either one moving to like a 5:30 start or moving to a 7 start, and depending on what Parks and Rec would do. Is that a fair from the group? Am I getting that?
Yeah, I would just
I-
say
yeah.
that, as a parent,
Same.
if we're gonna do 7, we need to be done by 8.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that, and I think that's one of the challenges. And that's, it's hard because you've got mixed situations going on. You got some people that work late and then you got some people that, have the other. And so, but we're
I
trying
would
to,
strongly prefer to have the earlier slot and build efficiencies into the agenda.
Mhm.
Because I wouldn't be able to stay longer than 8:15 at the latest.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
can do the first Thursday.
And I'm even amendable to the earlier time, but I would still prefer that if we do meet earlier, then I would like us to still be about 1 hour. Because again, as a parent, that is definitely homework and dinner time. So that means I'm going to be leaving my family and I need to get back to make sure that they do their homework because the other half is assault.
I'm in the same boat and maybe we can learn some efficiencies from Parks and Rec because 1 hour and 15 minutes would be a really good amount of time.
Yeah.
probably.
We wouldn't want to be responsible for lower grades.
All right, well,
Full-time job.
you've given me enough for us to work. The board is the one that approves the schedule. They probably won't officially approve it until January. We're just trying to make sure we've worked through all the committees to make sure we're in set. So I've got enough to know where we're headed. Thank you.
All right, we're now moving to old business. 8.1 update information on the signal hike at the Garrett Williamson Harvest Festival on October 15, 2022. Terry.
I think we chatted about that. We did 4 walks. A great response. They had nearly 1,200 come to the event. You know, the feedback from the trails walk was very positive. We loved it. And we loved Garrett Wing. We wore them out for those people. Yeah, the last one. Took a long one.
Well, I only did 2 and you did 4, right?
Yeah, well, I did
So you gotta
3
be tighter
because
than I was.
Alex took one of them.
Okay.
I just was like, okay. Yeah, I did 4 if you consider that I took some on a short walk. It was great.
Was good.
Thank you. We're great.
Everybody seemed to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, Steve was there.
It was a nice event.
Okay, 8.2, update information and possible action regarding wildflower plantings along Goshen Road Trail.
So as I kind of alluded to before the meeting, some health issues and
Yeah.
a crazy work schedule. I haven't got very far on this because I just haven't had
Okay.
time. I still do have the connection with the Lenape. I need to reach back out to them and actually talk to them about a few different things, but that is one of them. So, and again, they were willing to help out. Last time I talked to them, I was kind of like, got a few things going on. I will get back to you. And they're like, cool. So hopefully they're still amenable and I can talk to those folks and get that rolling.
Thank
I
you.
know the last time that, I know when we talked about this, we talked about perhaps maybe also partnering with maybe a local Girl Scout and Boy Scout troop. Do we still want to do that, or was that an option or no?
I don't know if I was there for that conversation.
Okay.
I don't know that I can give
Okay.
feedback on that. I mean, once we know what we want to plant, if they want to do it, that's definitely an option. I think part of what I had initially proposed was also looking at portions of the trail that had water issues. And, this would take some funding, so a grant or something like that, and do kind of habitat restoration to mitigate some of those water issues. So that may be above scout troops, but, just basic plantings. If we kind of have an idea of where we want them and what we want, could be done by those guys.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next is 8.3. Pick on you again,
Yeah.
better. Update information and possible action regarding signage.
This one I have a small update. I did meet with George on Thursday because I was off finally on Thursday. And we went through all the existing trails and had talked about where to put directional signage and what they should say. So that is in the works. I had sent him this. Okay, please ignore my very preschool arts and crafts project. I don't have a plotter at home. So I started kind of making mock-ups of the signs. This is a 18 by 24. So this is like what the size would be. And I brought that in, showed it to him. I'm still looking for graphics. And again, because I had a concussion, so looking at a computer was not high on my list of things to do. And then when I didn't have a concussion, I was looking at a computer all day at work, and I would have one weekend day and I didn't want to look at a computer again. So I am a little behind on that. And it's difficult to find the graphics that I'm looking for because they are kind of very site specific. So George was going to work a little bit on that. I was going to work a little bit more now that I'm starting to get my weekends back. But I have the format down. I made some color corrections that George had suggested. The text is there. It's just getting the graphics. So, I mean, it's almost ready to go. It's just the graphics is the last bit. And that's kind of what's been holding me up, quite honestly. And just, so if anyone feels like looking up, some non-copyrighted or finding some copyrighted things that may be affordable, or we can look into if they're willing to let them have let us use them if they're credited or whatever. That would be helpful because that's kind of where I'm at. But the other signage, the directional signage that I was talking about, George and I were talking about, like for the Goshen, or I'm sorry, the Bishop Hollow Trail that goes through Nell, like having signage kind of marking mileage to different locations. It's same thing leading down the Lister Trail once it is turned over to the township, for the one going down Goshen Road and then the Meadow Trail. So we kind of talked about all of those and where it would make sense. It's mainly just at intersections of trails and starting and ending. And instead of being like, oh, you're a quarter mile down the trail, it's like, oh, you're a quarter mile from, to the township building, or a mile to, Campus Boulevard, kind of doing it that way. So he liked that idea. I think that may be the approach he's taking, but we're at least looking at getting some directional signage. So
It's a format that shows it listed.
we didn't talk about a format, but if we kind of follow this general look here, we can get something temporarily in place that would fit what we have or what we're looking to do in the Meadows and other places. So yeah, it's coming along. It's just moving slow, and I am sorry that it's
No,
moving
no problem.
slow.
You're doing a great job. 8.4 update.
May I ask a question? You have a list of items, graphics you're looking for, examination?
Yeah, so I can send out this file to everyone, and on the bottom of each slide, I have like my ideal graphic
Okay.
listed on the bottom. So it'd be a matter of, can you find that? And the trick is like some of it, like, for example, there's one panel that talks about wetland areas, in particular cattails, and all the different animals that use cattails. So in my head, I see kind of this cross section of, the cattail roots going down to the ground, muskrats burrowing between the roots, you have the birds making nests on the ground level where the cattails are, and then also picking out the fluff, so getting something like that is kind of very specific and oddly hard to find. I've tried all the different searches I can think of. So stuff like that. But I can definitely send out what I have and see what you guys can come up with. Any help is very much appreciated.
Here's why I asked, because we have so many artists that we know that might be happy to have their art on the side. And if you gave them the specifics, they could at least submit,
Yeah,
their ideas.
that would be awesome if anyone is willing, if anyone's listening out
That's a
there.
great
Well, we got artists.
Artists.
Yeah, we got
They would
tons
love
of them.
it.
Send it to me, I'll blast it out to maybe Anna, some start. and then-
And if they have questions, I'm happy to answer questions and whatnot, and
Yeah,
kind of give
this
them a little
is
bit more
not an
direction.
in-depth teaching. It could be just, grayscale or whatever that would work for the, the.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
kind of signage you need. I don't know that it's multicolored.
Ideally it would be.
Okay, if you give me the parameters. we'll
Yeah,
send
it would make it pop a little bit if we have some color, and we're looking at having, a banner on the top with some color. So, if we can get color because it is more eye catching, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
Any more comment on this topic? Okay, moving on, 8.4, update information and potential action on extensions of Newtown Meadow Preserve Trail. Very clever. Anything?
I do not have any update from Steve on the Lister HOA, if there's been any progress, and I don't have an update other than there seems to be in Echo Valley, where we originally talked about doing a temporary extension to the Meadow Preserve. There seems to be a groundswell of neighbors and residents there who are supportive of it. And they've heard about it and somehow have heard that I'm involved in it and are coming to me and contacting me. Our original strategy was to go through the HOA at Lister first to find out if we can use their property for the trail. The second step was going to be to involve all of the neighbors and residents who live near the entrance from Echo Valley to that Lister property to get to the Meadow Preserve. And I think we're gonna stick with that strategy. It doesn't make sense really to put the cart before the horse and bring all of the residents into conversations with our committee if we don't have the permission from Listener to use their property to build the trail. But apparently through our work here on the committee, there are a lot of families in Echo Valley who would love to have access to the Meadow Preserve Trail. Tons and tons of dog walkers in the Echo Valley neighborhood who would love to be able to walk a trail. And on that side of Echo Valley, there are residents there who have their own trails that go back there that they use just for their families. But the word that I'm hearing is that sometimes there are people who walk through their backyards. So my feeling, and yes, we still have to talk about to the Echo Valley residents about this, but my feeling is if we create one small trail to the Meadow Preserve on no one's property other than Listeners who would give us permission, that would hopefully take away unauthorized traffic on our neighbor's private property. So that's the update that I have at this point, but I don't necessarily feel the impetus for this committee to move forward at all until we have
Yes.
the permission from Listener.
So I actually finally have I'm gonna start having monthly meetings with the Listener HOA. They've asked for that. And so one of my first meetings is actually tomorrow. And so it's actually on the agenda tomorrow to actually set up a time for us to go out and walk the area. So that will be on the agenda, and then I'll be back with Aaron so that we can get out and actually have that walk.
Right.
Okay.
Super.
Very good.
While we're talking about that, I know some concern has come up with the meadow. There's been some cutting of the meadow, and some people have expressed concern through, I think through the HOA, mostly from the Listener HOA, but so the Episcopal Academy had asked to be able to use the meadow for an event that they're doing, and they're going to be using it for parking, which they've done in the past. And part of what they do is they cut it and then they turn around and put down native seed and seed the area where they've cut it. They, come in and do that. So they're going to do that as part of what they do. That's something they've been doing for several years. And actually, one of the things that the meadow, one of the things that's supposed to be happening is an annual cutting of that meadow. And it's supposed to be done. It has not been being done. And we're actually noticing that it's actually causing some challenges in that what's growing is getting much bigger. And when we go to clean that, it's going to be much more difficult. So George and I were actually having that conversation as well. So the cutting is actually a good thing. So people understand that. And so if you have people ask you, yes, the township did approve it. And yes, it was cut, and there is a purpose behind it. It actually serves a purpose of benefiting the meadow. So.
Just
So
to,
sorry.
to add on to that, where I work, we do cut our meadows, and in particular at this time of year because of timing of when natives versus non-natives set their seeds. So now is a great time to cut. We take it a step further and actually bale everything that we cut in an attempt to starve out the non-natives. So I don't know if that would be something that the township may look into in the future, is removing that nutrient source of the stuff that's been cut, biodegrading back into the soil, in a hope to help promote those natives. But yes, it is a good thing, and people shouldn't freak out over it.
So where those machines are in the meadow in the last couple of weeks, are those Episcopal's machines, or are they?
Episcopal machines.
Oh, but they're doing it, if that is Meadow Preserve.
It is Meadow Preserve property.
Okay,
And they're putting cars on that?
They will be putting cars on it.
Yeah, I did get an email asking about it.
Yeah.
I'll get back to it.
We'll respond in writing for you to send to them.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any regulations about conditions that they're allowed to park there? Like if it happens to be after a big snowstorm or big rainstorm or anything like that?
It is for one event they do annually,
Yeah,
and
but I'm just thinking like if it's really muddy or something
they
that
would,
day.
they would be careful about that.
it's probably this weekend for having for EA Day.
That's the
It
one.
is EA Day,
Yeah.
because I am a Ford.
Yeah.
which actually is probably going to be a rainy weekend if I remember what's coming. So we may need to have a
Is it?
conversation.
Well, I'm not gonna be here anyway.
Yes. so,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
8.5, update information on the rail trail feasibility study. Joe Falcon.
I think that I can give a short update. I had a meeting this week related to it. I have not had a chance to talk to Joe and decide what next steps are with the committee. But that's what we're ready to take next steps with the committee and decide what the next steps are from there. To be honest, I think there's going to be some challenges. And so we just need to figure out what we're going to do there and what our options are. And so my guess is that we'll probably bring the committee back together, have a discussion, and then make a decision where to go from there.
All right, is there any other board comment?
Joe, do you have? Out there or?
There hasn't been much movement and
Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to talk to Joe. Joe doesn't even know the meeting I had this week, so.
Is there any other old business?
I would like to make- Was on you.
Yep.
Okay, you go ahead.
Yeah, Anthony Vincenzo and I did present to the Trails Committee comments to Garrett Williamson development at the Planning Commission on October 27th. And I guess if they did not make a decision on that, and they will be hearing it next time, and if we could get those comments over to the planning. That would be
Yeah, so just so it's real clear, when we send comments and when they're sent to be on the agenda, we don't put them on the planning commission agenda until after the action by the board. And this board would then we need somebody from this committee to say they're released to go to the planning commission, and they need to be sent to Heather. So we'll work on that with you
That'd be great.
so that there's not that confusion going forward.
Thank you. Are there any other board comments?
Are we replacing Amy?
I'm sorry.
Will we be replacing Amy?
That will be done by the Board of Supervisors. My guess is they probably will not take action on that until the January meeting, just in that we're in the process of looking for volunteers right now for committees. And so that's typically the board does that at the reorg. Yeah, so that's who does that. If you have a suggestion, I think it's appropriate to make sure that person reaches out and puts an application in, because we're taking applications right now for positions. I forget, I don't have in front of me who the person was. There's somebody that was one or two people, maybe even three people were going off this board this time, and they could sign up to stay on. But I think you've already been reached out to and you've communicated that. So I think everybody was wanting to stay on.
Thank you. All right, is there any public comment?
There's none.
Are there any items for the next agenda? Hearing none, would anybody like to make them?
Hey, John, quick question. So the official map, do we have any? Do we want to put that on the agenda?
Yeah, Anthony has been tied up on a number of things.
Okay.
But I think it's not too far away. I think our subcommittee will meet. Maybe next week. So,
Okay.
and at that point, we'll make it available perhaps to Steve. They get together and then maybe further on down the line.
Yeah, I think next steps is for the subcommittee to present something to some board members individually and start some board of supervisors and get some feedback from them.
Okay, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I move.
Do I hear a second?
Okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
I.
All opposed?